All right, welcome everyone to Robot Builders Night Virtual for April Fool's Day, April the 1st. Did anyone see any or hear of any good tricks being played?
No,
no good tricks.
I took my cat to a vet.
I heard one today. Warren Buffett bought Tesla for $1 trillion.
$1 billion. Nice.
Wow.
I didn't believe that one at all.
Pat, I bet you have a T-shirt for that, though.
No, I don't. I've only got a few T-shirts, but I pick and choose them wisely.
All right, then let's see. I think the only DPRG news to share is we had oops, where'd that go? Yeah, I'm sure it's gone there. We had robot power lunch at Ford's garage. And I don't know why this keeps on moving, but anyway, there we are, all standing outside, happy as we can be, having been fed and everything. So without further ado, I'm going to stop presenting and hand off to Steve, who has a very interesting and largish presentation demo. And
we're going to call it a demo because I am not a slides guy, even though I work for a company that makes things like PowerPoint. I don't like making PowerPoints, but I do like doing demos. So recently, my job entails a lot around AI. Obviously, it's a really big thing at our company. And so as part of my role, I'm working to bring more AI enablement across all of our organization. And so part of that, though, I have to learn how AI really works and how it can be useful to build, advanced RAG models and those kind of things. So our employees can combine the power of AI along with all the internal information that we have. And so as part of this process, I thought, what could I use to learn more about how this all works and build the system out myself? And I thought about DPRG's old mail list archives because today, let me go ahead and present my screen here. Share. Today, you guys see that?
Yep.
Okay. So today we have this enabled on the DPRG org site, and you can go and look all the way back down to like 1997, I think, earliest on. And you can look at it by thread, subject, author, date, or you can just download the whole thing as a gzip. So while this is kind of cool and somewhat useful to go in and search and read posts from way back when, it's really actually pretty hard to search comprehensively and find things in it easily. And so that's where I thought, this would be a good data set to use for my own edification to build this out and to really understand how it's working. So I download all these gzip text files, and I uploaded those and actually ingested them into two different indexes out here on a vector database called Pinecone. And I did a sparse index and a dense index. I'm probably going to end up clearing these and re-ingesting them with a slightly different chunking model so that the data that's in the database is more complete as far as like each entry is going to be one post with the complete text to make some of the features that I'm trying to do work a little bit better. But right now, even as it is, it works pretty well. So you can see in here that this has a lot of metadata that I was able to break out. So the author, the date, the day, whether or not it has URLs, keywords, some text excerpts, the title of the post, and all the date information, right, is broken down a couple different ways. And so I did that for each and every post across all of the years of that archive. And I did it in both the sparse and the dense index because each of these types of indexes are specialized in what you can, how you search them, whether you're doing semantic search or keyword search or just text search. They have their pros and cons. And so when I was thinking about what I wanted to do, I thought I'm going to do both because then I can do a hybrid search across both and just get the best from both and then re-rank, the results and then provide the best output to answer any kind of queries or questions. And so that's kind of how it all started. I got all the data in there, and then I started building in Python a command line interface and a web API so that we could later be integrated into a website like our website so we can enable it for our members. And since this does contain a lot of like email addresses and other stuff, I'm talking to Doug and probably Mark about how we can integrate it into the website, maybe a members only thing, make it a feature that's available for members, kind of an extra benefit, let you kind of go back and search through all the old archives. We haven't really talked too much about it, but there's also the opportunity we could also include the current mail list and maybe even the Discord, but that's kind of going to be a conversation for the whole group, that you guys want that kind of exposure into this thing or not. But let me demo what we have so far working. So let me get something up on my other screen. And before I go too much farther, does anyone have any questions out of the gate?
I'll just, if I might just add, Steve, that on the current, the Google Groups email list, we made it we improved privacy relative to the old archives that Steve has been working with, and now people's email lists are not visible to casual visitors to the archive. The archive messages are visible to anyone, but not people's emails.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
What's the difference, Steve, between the dense and the other data set? If it's the same data, I don't understand the difference between those or how those are different.
Yeah, the dense index allows for really specific types of metadata searches that makes it easier to find data using or find documents using metadata. And the sparse is got, I think it's better for either like text searches, just text searches versus keyword searches. So there are definitely differences between the two. I can pull up some information and give you a more complete explanation, but there's pros and cons to each one. And by doing it both ways and then building an agent that can query it both ways, then I can get the best of both worlds as far as trying to answer any kind of questions or queries that are translated from a natural text inputs that you're going to see here as part of this demo versus what you might otherwise get. So in the original AIs and things like ChatGPTs that were available to folks, it was just a dense index. And more recently, they've been making these sparse indexes so that you can do hybrid searches and get better results.
Is that also a matter of performance or just results?
I think there are some performance differences between the two. I think the dense is probably faster than the sparse.
Interesting. I'd have thought it'd be the other way around, but interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So let me show you just a real quick, and this is a very simple example here. So I can run this command. So I've got a CLI. Let me just do this first. Dispatch help. Let me just verify that it's working and running. Machine's not very warm. Taking its time here. All right, so these are, this is the basic command line arguments. It's pretty simple interface, but there's a lot more to it. So the basic way that you use this is you can either use the chat feature, you can do a metadata search, or you can do a search using the semantic search, which is more about, text matching and those kind of things. And so as an example of just a search, we can do something like this. And this is going to go and find results that match robotics competition. And behind the scenes in the environment variables, there are a lot of different parameters that I'm using, like the top K and the min scores and those kind of things, so that you can specify, what's the relevant score to my query. I want it to be at least 0.55 or higher in this example, or I guess the min score is 0.3. So at least 30% relevant. And then top K tells how many results that I want it to return. So give me the top 10 results. And so as you can see, now we can go ahead and look at documents, and I can search for any kind of text that might be in the title or in the excerpt, and it's going to pull back results. If I want to get more specific, let's say I'm going to do oops. Copy paste isn't working. There we go. So I'm going to take this author out because we don't really have a John Doe. But you can do it like this and say, search for anything that has the word progress video in it or something similar to that in this month, day, and year. And it's going to go out there and look, for specific posts from the archive with these words or with something that has got a semantic meaning on that specific day. And there you go. And it brings it back. I do, if it's easily seen in the excerpt, I do try and highlight the terms that it's finding for you so that you can kind of see where it's matching. And this is all fine and good, right? And there's a lot of different commands and things that you can use. And let me show you an example of some of those commands. I'm just going to, sorry.
This is
So for
back in the
comparison
olden days when.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Go on. Whoever was speaking.
Well, I was just going to jump in and ask for. I'm still not 100% sure of dense versus sparse in this instance. I'm used to thinking of it in like computer vision. But if you were to repeat that with just a sparse search, what would the difference be?
Okay. We can, I believe I've got a feature in there for that.
Yeah, and to add to Kareem's question, what about the RAG? If you use the RAG search, how's that different?
So the RAG is simply means that it's an augmented search algorithm with all this data that's in the the sparse search returned nothing because this was using a lot of metadata, it looks like. Dense. But to answer your question, Paul, the RAG is basically you have an LLM like ChatGPT 4 or 4.0 or something like that. So you can always ask ChatGPT any kind of question, and it's been trained on all sorts of things out there on the internet. But things like these documents, these are not part of that training. They were never ingested. Those models don't really dive into the depths of every website and pull out documents like this and index them. So if you're trying to search over this kind of, more private database or things that are internal to your company, you can get the best of, the LLM's knowledge and what's in your specialized indexes where you're augmenting the intelligence and the knowledge that the LLM itself has. And then your agent can be tuned to prioritize any information in your model and answer with that data first. And then if it cannot find anything to answer it, then it can fall back and maybe use the LLM knowledge that it was trained on. And you can tune that completely.
Is it fair to say that what you're doing here is with this dense one is almost like the table itself is all data directly coming from the content database, and it's just the excerpt where the LLM is helping to synthesize a summary of that content.
Yes, I believe. I mean, the content is in both. In the way that
in the title too.
The title, the excerpt, the author, all the data it's in there twice. But
but so the excerpt, is that being the way the excerpt is worded? Is that actually just spitting out raw content that was in the database, or is it or is it being generated as a synthesized summary or abstract?
It is. So when I ingest all this data into the index, I actually had to make calls out to OpenAI's embedding APIs to create the embeddings, which are essentially numeric values that represent each token, and then it organizes it within the dense index in one way and in the sparse index a different way. And they use slightly different embeddings so that the way that it's organized is basically set up for different types of searches. So while data's in there twice as an embedding models, the dense one is just organized much differently with a different embedding model. The excerpt is saved as metadata and I'm able to retrieve the actual raw text from the document. So if OpenAI says this is the answer, now I can go back and take the ID of that record and pull the excerpt out to get the raw text. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that in this excerpt, there's not really any chance that there's going to be hallucinations. It's not generated text. It's just
That's
true
right.
excerpts from
Yeah.
the original content. Okay.
Right. And then it'll use that information in the excerpt to, if you're going to ask it to summarize it, or if you're going to ask it, something, it'll use that information to synthesize a complete answer. That's the idea. So the CLI is basically just a command line interface, and I can pass it all sorts of different metadata. I can do keywords, I can do queries, but it's a one-shot thing, and it's not a conversation like you're might be used to with like ChatGPT interfaces on the web. But I also implemented a chat, so we can go in here and simply start the chat interface. Let me start that up. And this is really the part of the demo I think that is cool and that you guys would find more useful. So once this starts up,
Because what we really want is to be able to say, please critique my robot in the style of David Anderson.
that would be an interesting query. Yeah, you have to give it some context about your robot and then do so. But I might have to add some features in there for it to understand the persona of David a little bit more. But that's certainly something that we can talk about. So here's an example. I can say, show me all conversations from Jay Brown from 2007. And I've got the logging a bit verbose right now while I've been testing it. And so you can see here it's bringing back some things from Jay Brown, some things from other people that he was probably responding to. Those are the kind of responses. And part of that is because of the configuration that I'm using right now. So I can say show current settings, and it's going to show you lots of things like top K, temperature, min score, the search type, how many tokens we can use in a response. And I can now just set these to get more precise answers or more creative answers. So for like creativity, you tweak temperature. I'd say set temperature to 0.2. And now if I ask that same question again, should give more precise answers.
What does temperature represent?
Temperature represents creativity. So you're asking it to be a little bit looser with the answers. Like in this first example, it gave me this one and all these where he probably was responding to somebody. And so he was in there because, or these showed up because of that. Whereas here, this is actually going to show you, all right, this is something that Jay Brown, actually wrote.
Okay.
Then you can also do things like reset the conversation. So when you're using the chat conversation, it's remembering a lot of the conversation, similarly as you do in ChatGPT. So, to get best results when you're using these kind of chat interfaces, you want to keep the conversation kind of focused on one thing. If you ask a lot of random questions, it can get confused, or you can limit the answers that it's bringing back. So the way I've implemented this is once it starts bringing results, then you keep asking questions about those results, and it's going to maintain the information that it's working with. So if you ask for some other author right now without resetting it, it's going to say, oh, I don't have anything from that person, because it's already filtered it down to the J Browns, you know, everything with J Brown in it. That makes sense.
You can't expand the context
You can just reset.
once
Like-
you
Yeah.
have to reset it. Okay.
Reset. Yeah. And so the other day, Doug was asking, or we were talking about this, and he said, you know, one challenge that he's always had was he's trying to build a historical page about all the past presidents of DPRG. And could we use this to figure that out? Like, who was the president in this year versus that year? So I could say something like, please review posts from 2009 and let's say with keyword president, give me your best guess as to who was the DPRG spent that year.
Wow. That's really asking it to understand the meaning of the emails.
Yep. So let's see, this one didn't work. Let me try a different year. Oh, you
How
know,
about like 2000 through 2010?
show settings. Set top K to 50. Set min score to 0.5. All right, try a different year. I know I got good results on the other years I was messing around. Think faster, AI.
You're using up all your tokens, Steve.
That's all right. I've been going hard and fast on this. I probably used $50 worth of tokens this week.
So can we burn all your tokens and have you interpret all of the videos and let it extract and understand those?
Yeah. All right. I'm not sure what's going on here. Let me start this over. I hadn't done that before. This is a live demo. IDIS.
Yeah, we'll get a token refund for that.
Apparently it's unwinding itself.
Are your tokens prepaid or
Yeah,
refill
yeah.
as you go?
Oh, they're prepaid. CD2.
So Carl, just to bring you up to speed on the comment you made while Steve's getting things fired up. Steve did a demo at the board meeting the other night of an agent that he's built that would do all of the hard work that currently some combination of myself and Mark and Doug are doing for RBNVs in terms of downloading videos and posting them and
Oh,
content and really cool stuff.
a little automation, a little more
Yeah,
than memorize the location on the screen and copy the click timing. Huh.
All right.
I've managed to get ChatGPT to spend, I was showing Kareem at Ford's Garage, I've managed to get ChatGPT to spend up to now 10 minutes and 51 seconds on a single response. So before that, my record was about 6 minutes. So I'm just wondering, I bet if I asked it to, if it was possible to connect it to scour all the movies, I bet I could burn a lot of time if I want. Natural language is great though, isn't it? Look at that.
Okay, so this one says, based on the documents provided, there's a mention of a person named Ron Grant serving as the DPRG president in document 21. However, it's not explicitly stated that he was the president in 2008, but it's a reasonable guess. Ron Grant was probably the president that year. And so then I can say, all right, so show me the full.
And he was. That's actually correct.
Yeah. Show me the full text of document 21. And this is where I was saying that I'm probably going to go and re-ingest all the data so that the full context is in there, not just pieces of it, little bits of it. But this shows the content that it brought back. And you can do other fun things with this, like this one is meeting minutes, document 29. So I can say, hey, please summarize the document 29. So then it'll go and pull the full document and then try and summarize it for you. The AI is going to, read it and then try and figure out what it was about. But because a lot of things that were attachments got scrubbed, and I didn't have a very good chunking strategy when I first loaded all the data. Right now, it's not coming back with super great results here, but this can be improved pretty fast. So, but anyways, this is the demo. This is what I've been working on. I have plans to also create a web-based agent, and I'm working on a integration guide for WordPress, which is what the DPRG org site is using. So you can just do quick searches, or you can go into the chat interface and chat right on screen in the same way that you do at the command line or with ChatGPT. And I'll add some extra features for filtering by all the different metadata things that are available. So this will actually get improved quite a bit, but this is something I'll be working on over the next couple weeks. And lastly, I was going to show that this is actually out right now. You guys can go take a look at it. Look at the source code, see how I'm doing some of this stuff, because I'm sure a lot of people could be interested in how this works or what it looks like at scale. I'll put this in the chat. And if you guys want to download this and test it yourself with your own Pinecone index or with the one that I have, I can make available to our members a read-only Pinecone key, so you can read the data, but you would have to get your own API keys for OpenAI in order to actually do any kind of queries until I get it on the website. But yeah, that's it. That's the demo.
Did you go over the execution environment early on? I don't want, because I missed it. I missed the early part. So
This is all just written in Python, and it's very well documented out here right now. So you can feel free to peruse it. I've got setup and configuration on how to get everything configured. The testing is a work in progress. I've got a whole bunch of test suites that are in there, over like 100 tests, but I broke them yesterday, and so about half of them or more are getting skipped right now because of a dependency issue. But I'll get that fixed here in the next few days, and then it'll be fully testable. It's got the unit tests and some integration tests and those kind of things. All the source code is under SRC for the thing. I've got a bunch of utility scripts here and debugging scripts. And then, yeah, I would just say there's a lot of documentation on how to deploy it, how to use it, examples. This index page pretty much goes through a lot of things.
does it require any explicit local compute resources outside of just your normal PC?
Nope, this is actually running on just a simple laptop that does not have any advanced hardware. And I'm also running it on a Mealy PC with an N100, and it runs just fine on a small scale fanless computer.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So was this a helpful exercise? You said you took it on as a kind of a case study learning. What were your big findings from this?
Well, the big findings are that the way that we have a big internal tool that I can't mention the name of it, but it doesn't work very well. And we have a lot of lines of business that use it, right? So it's deployed at scale right now, and we're trying to utilize it. And it's just not working well. And the way that they have it organized, indexed, and the way they're using metadata is suboptimal. And so, yes, I have been, with the learnings that I've made from this, I have been making big inroads into the engineering teams that are responsible for building those. And we're getting them to redesign, re-architect large portions of it so that it can be more effective for our users. So.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
And one of the discussions that I think you wanted to have was about how much are people interested in seeing this expanded to cover more current content, like the current Google
Discord or the Google Groups things, or
or the more recent, because I think you stop at 2015 with this archive, but there's from 2015 on through about 2024, before we implemented Google Groups, there's a set of mail list archives. I don't know where they are, but they're the equivalent of this, more recent, but more recent, right? I think.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly had archives after 2015, right, all the way up till now. So even the current list, we should be able to, onboard and index. I just need to get access to the data. I used this because it was available, very easy to access without any fuss, and it was already public. So it's been sitting out here publicly available to anyone in the world.
Oh, is the index, or are the archives from March 2015 on, from April 2015 on, not out there available to the public?
They are not that I've seen.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought they weren't. Yeah, I thought they weren't published. I thought you had to talk to Steve Rainwater to get access to that.
Steve, what happened when we went to DreamHost, those archives, I guess they were looking at list as being pretty out of date. So they keep the archives, but you have to go to DreamHost to get them. Before that, it was real easy because Steve was maintaining the list as part of the server. Okay. So it was easy for him to take it and to download it. But after that, our server became DreamHost. And because the archive should be up there, but they're not easy to get hold of.
Well, I'm confused, Doug, because like when I became active in the club again, like in the 2022 sort of time frame when we were still using Piper Mail, I could get to current archives.
Okay, so go on the website. If you go on the website, and I think it's under information, and I don't think it might have been taken out of there. Go to the mailing list. Okay, see, I updated the mailing list might be updated to the new one. But if you have see,
I never went to this one. Oh, it is. Okay.
There it is. So.
Yeah.
So that is available. Yeah, I never saw that actually. So.
Yeah, but yeah. So anyway, that's where it is.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
More data for you to ingest, Steve.
That's right.
So then technically that's also been public this whole time.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, sure is. Up as far as April 2024 when we switched over to Google Groups.
And that's also public.
And that's also public with the modification that I mentioned, I think maybe before you joined, Kareem, that people's email addresses are not available
They're
through
scrubbed.
the Google Groups interface they're not available except to admins.
That's good. Okay.
Interesting.
All right, so that's my demo, Paul. I'll kick it back over to you or whoever's next in the queue if there's no more questions.
That's great, Steve. I'm still seeing if you're going to be able to find those presidents. That'd be great.
Oh, I didn't mention it, but if you look in the source, I'm actually working on, there's a folder called challenges. So I actually have 2 or 3 different approaches that I was going to use to utilize the client to search in different ways and then compile the results. That's a work in progress, but just to automate going through all the years. Otherwise, you have to, sit there and query one after the other after the other.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's
the
cool.
maximum.
I think one of the things that I've always been interested in is occasionally you have a recollection of someone doing a really cool demo, like Chris showed how to do embedded debugging using a JTAG interface, so this was I think a sort of a higher level, not quite as deep a tool as Scott showed when he gave a talk at the monthly meeting, but both of those are relatively recent but yet sort of hard to find if you want to like dig up, let me look at the video and how did he actually do this? How did he explain how to do this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Paul, you bring up a very good point. The other thing that's on my kind of backlog to do is download and get the transcripts for every video off DPRG clips that transcripts are available in. Like just start getting them one by one and ingesting the transcript into this in a separate index, because in Pinecone you can put stuff in the same indexes with different namespaces, and then I can just have a video or DPRG clips namespace, and then if you ask about videos, it'll use that namespace and go search video transcripts and those kind of information, so that now I can point to the actual video, where it was, what was the timestamp, and then you can query against, hey, I remember this demo. Who did it? When was it? Where's the video? And it would be able to go find those things and help people. Anyways, this is just, it's like cool, fun stuff. And there's no other robotics club in the world that's going to have this kind of tool.
Yeah, I don't think so. But let's just throw it open for discussion among those here, just in a general sense, before we carry on with the queue, because this is pretty groundbreaking, pretty novel in terms of capabilities that you're showing and that could be available to DPRG folks, and just see if anyone has any sort of like general questions, opinions, thoughts, comments.
I have a couple of comments. First of all, Steve, it's really impressive. I mean, it's great, but where's the search for winners of contests? I mean, so list the contest winners by, how many times they won and down the list. I mean,
You're right,
a query like that.
Do
You don't need it. You don't need it. Go to the
Scott, do you remember going on the list and bragging about that at all?
Yeah.
Because
Go to the website. On the website and the Hall of Fame under the competition tab. Everything goes back as far as we know. So
Yeah, but to have a
There's no
nice
official
short
smack
cohesive
talking
list,
award.
that you don't really have to search through. I don't know, just my comment. But yeah, excellent job, Steve.
yeah, thank you.
yeah.
All you have to do is ask ChatGPT to produce a leaderboard with you at the top, and
That's right.
it'll be happy to comply.
It would be curious to see if you made a query specifically to DPRG in GPT chat, like that one that, that said, okay, tell me who won six can competition over the years. I wonder if they would have that information. I mean, it is out there,
Well, we're all looking forward to seeing next segment.
What's that?
I wasn't able to catch what you're saying, Mike.
I'm curious. I'm really interested to see next demo. So basically, this next demo is going to be even greater, better.
Oh yeah, the next demo will be the web interface, and it'll be available to all of you to play with directly.
Steve, I have a question. You appear to have extracted and done some massaging on the data sets you took out of the DPRG archives. Once you pointed at the DPRG website itself, is that massaging an ongoing process?
I'm right now, I'm not pointing it and actively ingesting anything. That was a one-time process that I did. So I downloaded all the zip files, and then one by one I processed them, created the embeddings, and ingested each of those. And so there's nothing ongoing at this point. If in the future the club decides that they would enjoy active integration into like Discord, right, our chats or the existing thing, then that would be something that I would set up to just auto ingest on a daily basis. All the activity from yesterday, would get pulled and then ingested overnight, and then the next day it would be available.
I understand.
Yeah. Right now, it's just a static data set.
It's a one-shot deal so far.
So far, yeah.
Did have a question on your document limit. It looked like max was 50. Was that meant to be a max number of documents to retrieve or work on at one time, or is that a window, or exactly what does that mean?
Yeah, so when you're working with models like ChatGPT, there are token limits. If you go to platform, if you go out to platform OpenAI and read in their docs, I believe there are certain limits on, depending on the model that you're using, on how many tokens you can make in a single request. How many, and that includes your search plus the results for the completion. And so currently the model I'm using, there's like an 8,192 token limit. And if I set top K to something like 100, then I exceed that limit and it breaks, right? It'll throw an exception. So I have to have the top K limit, something like 75 or less. Right now I just have it set to 50 so that I'm sure it's not going to break. But what that means is that I'll go and do the query, and it's just going to bring back the top results for that number, right? So if I say 50, then it's going to give me the top 50 results, and then it's going to synthesize the answer from those results.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Steve, if the DP, so for this demo, you've been using tokens that you bought. If the DPRG were to make this a something available to members or to everyone, or however we might decide to organize that, do you have a sense for what the obviously DPRG as a club would need to fund the tokens that would be used to search for that? Do you have an idea of what that level of expense might end up being for what you might consider light usage?
Yep. So I've been heavily using it, obviously, over the last few days. And this is my April budget. I've spent $3. Well, it's just April now. But I think I spent like maybe a few dollars, $7 or $10.
Okay.
It wasn't much.
Okay. So well within the DPRG's funding capability.
Right.
Okay.
So yeah, the actual spend is actually very light. And that's with every single day. I was, if you look at just the sheer number of commits that I've done in the last 5 days since I've been working on this, let me go to code. 132 commits, right? This is running tests, running all sorts of queries repeatedly. I'm doing, 5-6 commits an hour easily. And so I'm just iterating, adding features, doing tests, and lots and lots of queries all the time. So it's
Wow,
yeah, heavy
So
usage.
like $2 a month kind of level might be expected.
Yeah.
Much less
OpenAI
than the-
offers discounts for nonprofits, but I don't know if they offer that for API access.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Oh, really?
They definitely allow it for like organizational accounts.
Oh, that's good to know. I wonder if that might be relevant to DPRG.
Could be.
Could be.
I mean, this usage, Steve, I mean, it looks like a lot of benefit compared to, for example, the $20 a month flat rate you get as a consumer.
Yeah, it's much more affordable, right, as a developer to develop and use your own tools, but you have to develop them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not all the models are available. So through this API, I can only directly through OpenAI, I can only use like ChatGPT 4 and 3.5 Turbo or something. One of the things that I'm doing right now is I'm rewriting, I'm modifying the code base to support Open Router so I get access to all these other models if I go sign up for them. So right now I'm signed up for XAI, OpenAI, and I think Claude or Anthropic, so that I can try different models and see how it performs against those models. Now they also cost a little money for each of those tokens, but again, it's not very expensive really in the grand scheme of things. But this will allow us to have even more advanced models that are maybe better at coding and other things. So as right now, I've got it tuned pretty tight so that it's trying to answer things from the archive, but it can also be configured so that if it doesn't find the answer in the archive, then it'll use the trained model to try and answer the question. So if you just ask general robotics questions like, how do I implement unit tests on this software, whatever, it'll be able to answer those things, even if that information is not in our archive.
Wow. Well, that looks pretty interesting. Thank you for that, Steve.
Yep.
I think it'd be fun to have that available, particularly with the more recent data that is more what I'd probably be interested in than the old data, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it's a fun tool to go back and look at, show me all the things Dave Anderson wrote about this subject or that subject. And the other way that you can utilize it is do those queries. And even though the information is not currently fully in there, you do have the date, the title, and the author information. Then you can just go right over to dprg.org archive and find it just through the web by going right to it and seeing the whole post, the whole thread. And so that's the other way, that I was using it, is I'd search with the AI and get the relevant posts, and then I'd go actually read them on DPRG's site through the archive that we have out there just on the web. Yeah.
Well, if no one has any further questions or comments, we'll move on in the list. But thank you for that demo, Steve.
You are all welcome. Glad you liked it.
Impressive. So Pat was up next, and then Tom.
Okay. Hey, everybody. As you know, I'm frantically working towards contest mode here for May coming up. And I wanted to just show the little bit of progress I've made. I don't know if you guys can see there's a robot. Which way am I going? A couple cans, just to get an idea what I'm looking at. And it's not going to move or anything, but I'm going to share my screen. Entire screen, share this guy. So that's basically the robot view from the camera. So if it hasn't frozen, and it froze.
Ah,
Interesting. I've been having trouble. Yeah, everything just froze on me. So we might as well let somebody else go while this unfreezes. I'm having a network issue with the Raspberry Pi where it'll just stop communicating completely. I rebooted my router earlier and it came back. So it wasn't the Raspberry Pi that it tried.
Tom, do you want to jump in while Pat gets things rebooted, and then we can
Yeah.
jump back to Pat?
Yeah, sure. Again, mine is just a little update. Last week I talked a bit about the line following robot I'm tinkering with, showed some of the material on the chassis and the micro that's on it, and the IR sensors that I'm using and the analysis I did on them. So at that time I had mentioned that I was about to proceed with some testing on my first test track. That has proceeded well. So now I'll show you the second test track. Let's find it here. I'll share this picture. You can see that test track.
Yep.
So we've advanced a little bit, at least an order of magnitude. This is a piece of Bristol board, which has some black acrylic poster paint on it to simulate the usual electrical tape. This is what Pat will be using as well when he puts this together in Espanola in full size, in the 4x8 foot size. But this gave me enough to give me a little bit more testing. The results of that testing are here.
Awesome.
And that's as good as it gets at this point. Now, the novice path, let me stop sharing here. The novice path, of course, that we'll be using in May will be this one. Thank goodness it has no right angles on it. So we'll see. That's as far as we've got.
Gold star for Tom for showing the robot doing line following. Well done, Tom.
One step at a time. So
Very cool.
there's no chat GP on this, no artificial intelligence. And it still ran.
Hey, Paul, am I still in the queue?
Yes, you are.
I am ready to go as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say I could go. Pat's not ready, but if he's ready, he can go.
I'm sorry, kid. I didn't have you in the queue. Let me add you. But yeah, if Pat's ready, if you're ready again, Pat.
Okay, so it looks like it's running. So there is the robot view, and what it's focusing on, as you can see in the image, I'll find the closest can to the robot and basically highlight it, and then in the window behind, right now I'm just giving the X and Y position of the can. It's coming back. I'm running anywhere from 28 frames and up per second. So it's working pretty good. It'll pick up, a part can or whatever. And it's so far it's been working pretty good. Aside from my network issue that seems to be, I don't know what's going on with my Wi-Fi.
Are you using OpenCV here, Pat?
I am using OpenCV. So I have OpenCV running on the Pi. Basically, I'm just I'm grabbing the input, the video. It's a stereo camera, so I'm splitting it off into left and right images. I convert the image to a LAB format, and I split off the LAB into 3 separate channels, and I'm using the A channel with a binary threshold. And so far, it seems to be working pretty good. I'm grabbing the contours, fine contours, to give me all of the contours inside. And I'm looking for the largest one. Where is it? It's the max. So I'm looking for the max in the contours. Basically gives me the biggest can that it sees. And extract the positions. And then just play around and draw everything on the image. It's working pretty good. I'm getting some fair results. Typically, it's above 30 frames per second. So, live.
That's nice. Is this an MV, open MV camera?
No, this is a USB essentially a USB webcam.
Okay.
And it's a stereo camera. So it's got 2 cameras on it.
Okay.
I don't know if I can show that. Where is my original? Left, right.
That's interesting. What model webcam gives you
Chinese
dual cameras?
Chinese webcam.
Huh.
So it is left, right. I was looking to see if I had the whole picture. So
it's with the screen displayed, and it was showing 50 something frames per second. That's pretty good.
I'm showing several different frames in there, so like pictures, and it seems to be working okay. Let's try input. So there's all my channels. There's my big one for troubleshooting. There's the threshold where I single out the biggest one, the biggest contour. There's my video camera with the left and the right channels.
Wow.
So basically, I'm told it's synchronized like a global shutter, and it grabs the whole image. I split it into 2, so I'm using 1 image right now. The idea being, I have to go through the routine to do the calibration of the left and right cameras so that I can get some depth out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I get the depth out of it, I will focus essentially on how far away the highlighted area is. So find the mean depth for the highlighted region.
Cool.
So you
It's
got to
very
roll your
nice.
own. You got to roll your own depth calculations, or it
I
has.
know I will plagiarize somebody's depth calculations.
Well, yeah, I know, but it's like it's running in Python or locally
Yeah, it's running in
OpenCV,
Python.
not on an accelerator on the camera.
No.
Okay. So it doesn't give you a depth frame out of the box.
No, it does not.
Cool.
So you can see that the 2 cameras on the boards, when they're looking out, they're not quite aligned. There's a procedure to go through with like a checkerboard pattern.
Yeah.
And take a dozen pictures and do a calibration.
Yep. Cool.
So that's what I've been working on. My big one is going to detect the blob flows with varying light conditions. So far, the LAB seems to be working pretty good. I haven't done anything special with the LAB aside from thresholding it. So I just split into LAB. I give it a threshold. Right now it's 168. And I use that to threshold my A image from this split image. And that's what gives me the location of the 2 orange cans.
And remind me, LAB is like luminance and something or other else?
The luminance and then A and B are different color channels. So they're a blended. So I don't know if the A is red and yellow or what it exactly is, and the B is blue and green or something. I'm still working on trying to change how I detect the colors, because right now I'm just doing a threshold. If I show that again.
Pat, so you don't have like an upper and lower threshold for L, A, and B?
No, I don't. So if you see this guy here, the A channel, when I'm displaying it, it looks like a black and white image, a gray image.
Right.
And so when I looked at it, I said, hey, there's white in the middle. Everything else, you know, most of the stuff in the image is you know, a darker gray, and the 2 orange images appear to be white. And I said, well, let's threshold it. And so when I threshold it, I end up with this guy, which shows me, you know, there's the 2 cans.
Cool.
And then when I find the largest one, the largest contour, it gives me the single can in the picture, which basically, if I move around, you can see that it switches.
Yeah. Can you vary the light a little and see if one disappears?
No, not easily. Hang on. I
Oh,
can turn another light on.
Or just shadow it, you know. Sometimes that'll do it.
Shadow. Well, here, I can shadow.
Ooh,
Yeah.
good test.
There's a shadow.
Yeah.
I took our light out.
Yep.
So it, you know, the brightness drastically dimmed in here.
Yep.
And it's still showing up. So it's interesting.
Interestingly, it looks like the auto gain on the camera might be a factor here, because when the moment that you shadow it, it sort of like drops away, almost fades away, but then it comes back again to a fair degree, as if the auto illumination is compensating.
Yeah. So I'm guessing that the webcam does an auto
exposure
and corrects. So far it seems to be pretty good. I did run into a situation where the west window beside me, earlier tonight with the sun coming in directly at the cans, there was a washed out area on the can, and it showed up in the A channel as a dark spot on the side of the can. And that was giving me a little bit of problems. Wouldn't to say it was a deterrence, but it, along with that, with the shadows on the light pattern on the floor, it was picking up a few more things.
Was that probably a really bright white spot that was specular reflection? I'm
guessing. And
yeah,
it's
it has almost no color information.
Yeah.
So
the contest is going to be indoors with indoor lighting conditions. Yeah. I'm not really worried about sunshine, at least for this year's event. So I'm going to see how that goes. So I'm hoping to progress to get my stereo camera working, to get my depths, so I know, you know, where I'm going, what direction, and try to get it out from there.
Well, one thing I had when I was doing some testing last year was floor reflections. Like I can see on here, there is some reflection on your floor. So a shiny floor could have false imaging.
Yeah, so you can see in the LAB image, the A image, there is some reflections that's on the floor. You can just sort of make it out below the cans. But overall, it hasn't been very much. Occasionally, it will pick up a little bit of reflection, but I'm still doing the max contours. So the reflection on the floor turns out to be very minimal compared to the size of the can. So that seems to sort of help it out that, you know, the cans are the two biggest items out there.
Yeah, and my floor was wood and it was sort of a orange color. This year I'm going to do a gray floor with my testing.
So here I'm on a tile floor. I was testing in the front. I was on a hardwood floor, and it was still working, I would say, just as well. In the color image, you can see a little bit of the reflection of the orange on the floor, but it doesn't seem to be affecting at all the thresholded image.
My wooden floors are almost orange in color.
I have some planks that are almost gunstock orange, you know, but so far, no issues.
Cool.
I'll be doing it on a tile floor, I believe. We'll be doing the competition on a tile floor. And so I'm not worried about
Make sure it gets shine. Yeah.
Pardon me?
Make sure it gets buffed to a high shine.
I'm just happy they're providing us with a big TV and a Wi-Fi. So
yeah.
Well,
Pat, what's the field of view of your cameras?
So when I look up the specs, it was 90 degrees.
Okay.
And I don't know. I'm still not convinced. I'd like to do something and measure it to make sure, you know, if I put something in front of it at a 90-degree angle, can I see it? Because I thought it was narrower than that.
Yeah, it's wise to measure it probably.
Yeah, but I also have it on a servo as well.
I was going to ask you that next. Good.
So,
It is pretty wide angle. There's a lot of distortion.
Yeah.
so,
Pin cushion. Yeah.
so I don't know if you guys can see that. So there's the robot. If you can sort of see the camera. There's a stereo camera, and I've got it offset. So I have one channel. The right channel, or the left channel, is centered on the robot, and the right channel is at an angle. Is off to the side. Sorry.
Oh, nice.
And the idea with that being that when I grab a can, I still have a channel that can see at least a little bit past the can.
Wow.
If that makes any sort of sense.
Yeah.
Do you use the camera for navigation or just for detecting cans?
So right now it's going to be used for detecting cans, but the idea is that I want to be able to detect the goals. So the goalposts or the sides of the goal, to be able to get in there. Part of my idea is to make sure that I'm in the middle of the goal so that I can drive through and drop off a can. Part of my other thinking is when I'm backing out of the goal, the idea would be to capture where the two posts are and be able to triangulate a position where I am and say, hey, here's my position recorrected, you know, and take off and go back and find the cans. The other thing is when I have two cans in the display, well, I have two contours available. I have, you know, contour 1 and contour 2 in this case. Well, I'm going to grab contour 1 or the bigger contour. Well, the other one, I can technically take the distance reading and the angle reading from the camera and determine to say, hey, there's a can around this position. So put it in memory so you can go back and find it.
Right. Yeah. Do you have odometry as well?
I will. I haven't got it hooked up. I'm trying to do as much as possible on the Raspberry Pi, but there's no way it's going to do encoders. So I'm thinking I've got pretty much a little RP 2040, a Zio RP 2040, and I'm gonna bring my encoders into there, and basically just make it available through I2C onto the Raspberry Pi to go grab my readings, so I can do my odometry.
So you feel you'll be able to uniquely identify the goalposts on each side of the goal with the camera?
That's the plan, is to try to identify where the two white patterns are, the goalposts.
Yeah.
Compared to whatever is going to be in the background, I'm not sure.
Right.
So,
Of course, when you're building your own competition layout, you can make it the way you want it.
well, I don't have access to the playing field, so till competition day, I went to look at it, but I know there's a big wall down the middle that they can open up, but the far side is a weight training room.
Maybe we should extend the rule set so you can put a unique pattern on the goalposts.
But there is rules that say you can't.
Oh no!
So you can put something off to the side of the end walls, so on the side of the course, not behind the end walls. So I know that Ray, I think, was using a green pattern 1 year to try to identify where his robot was.
It's like, I don't know what the paper is that they call it. It's like kids use it a lot, but it's kind of brightly, almost like neon color green to identify like a unique color at the end of the goal. But yeah, you can't put it at the end. You have to put it on the side.
Yeah.
Long side. Yeah.
So I've been trying to figure out a way how to recorrect my position, because I'll be using odometry, and odometry is far from perfect, but.
Very cool, Pat.
So that's where I am anyway. So I wish I was a little farther along, but.
It's getting to be quite a capable robot.
Working on it. Unfortunately, life gets in the way far too much.
Yep.
It's
all right. Well, if no one has any questions for Pat, before we move on to Mike, I want to say that I think we don't often award a black star for technical achievement, but I think Steve deserves a black star for technical achievement for his search, DPRG email search.
Well, thank you, Paul.
I agree with that.
Well done, Steve.
Paul, what were you holding up?
It's a robot Christmas ornament.
Oh, okay.
I know I took the idea from David Anderson, who used to always wave a gold star, and I thought that's a really, really nice idea.
Gotcha.
All right, Mike.
Okay. Well, my cat's being frisky right now, so hoping she doesn't type anything bad.
Mike, your microphone is really muddy. Am I the only one who's perceiving that?
Nope.
No.
Yeah, it sounds really.
It sounds muffled.
Yeah.
You might have two
overdriven.
microphones on too. I don't know. But yeah, it's hard to hear you.
Is it better? Lower?
No, it sounds like it's far away, as a matter of fact.
Oh. Oh, wonder what's wrong with my mic. Okay, so I put my mic on lower volume.
That's a lot better.
Yeah, that sounds better.
I was overdriving it then. Okay.
Yeah.
Too far, I think. I think you might have backed off too far.
Okay, is it better now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so I've been doing a couple things, and one of them was going through Ross Tubey Navigator, and so I was going through their TurtleBot Navigator training exercise, and got to the point where it says, "Okay, make your own world." And so I made a 6-can world.
So I'm going to share and bring stuff up, see what happens. So I'm going to do the entire screen. And then I'll bring up the, so here's
Ooh.
Gazebo.
Nice.
So I'm just using the turtle bot, but I slimmed it down a little bit. And then this is the RViz. I think I need to restart everything. So let me go back. Oh, I guess it's running. Oh shit. I have another thing running. So let me turn something off. I have the downstairs robot running too. All right. So
Too many robots.
It was showing up also. So okay, so basically right here is the robot. You can assume you can see this. I'm gonna try to make it bigger.
Well, that's coming across good.
And and zoom in on it. So so I can use the, so I've been running a little bit, so I don't have to give it a 2D pose estimate, but you can sort of see that everything's a little off right now. But let me try this. So I say, okay, go to this goal. I think I have to start these two things over again. So let me shut these down. Shut down the RViz and shut down the turtle, the gazebo. I'm doing a simulation. Looks like it came up okay. I'm just giving it a simple view here. Okay, so this is the gazebo. It's the course. I shortened it to my home course, which is only 9 feet long instead of 10 feet long. It's as much as I could fit in my room. And then I'm going to bring up the RViz. So this is the clean RViz. So I made a simple model in Gazebo and exported the map. And then I did the cartographer to create the map. So I didn't have to hand draw the map. So this is the map that it created for me. So basically it's the 7 foot wide by 9 foot long, and this is the 3 foot opening. And then if I do the initial pose using these things, I think it's about right here. So what I'll do is I'm going to turn off some stuff that makes some things that don't make a lot of sense. I'm going to show the robot model. So down here is the robot at that goal, which if you look in the gazebo, it's right here. And it's basically, you can see the laser seeing the wall. So it has itself localized properly. One thing I did make it better was to make some changes to the So I'm going to take our robot to 180 millimeter radius. Well, that's the inflation layer, which is basically a keep out or a, sort of a zone to keep out or something. And the robot radius is the diameter of my robot's going to be 180. And if I do the same with
layer is the teal, right?
Pardon?
The inflation layer is the teal?
Yeah.
Or not? Yeah.
Well, it's actually the red out of the teal, and the robot radius makes the teal. But let me turn this off, or get to this one and do the same thing. Yeah, because I had this all set up, but then I had to start it over. Oh, where's my robot? Robot radius. 0.118, and then my obstacle layer, or my inflation layer. 0.18. So basically, I'm not giving any margin, and so if I go back to RViz, you can see that it's cleaned up quite a bit. So I don't have anything on any cans or anything on the map here, but I can just do the show and tell, just to say, okay, I want to go over here.
Yay! I see a robot moving.
Of course, with nothing there, then everything works pretty good. But you can see that
virtual star.
You can see even there that the localization gets messed up even in simulation here. so on a real robot, it's even harder. And then if I go and bring up Gazebo and add some cans, yeah, the cans are too short, which is good but if I put a beer can in there, it's big enough and it looks like a can. See here, put a can there, put a can here. Yeah, just for fun, I'll put one over here too. And so then if you bring up RViz, it starts to see some odd stuff. And so again, if it's not very crowded here. So if I say, try to go here, really nothing. The interesting thing is this pink line is the global route, and then the blue line is the local route. So the blue line is what it is actually going to do. And the pink line is sort of a suggested route.
It actually moved around that can on the bottom left.
Yeah. And if I say go here, but if it gets a little crowded, it has a more difficult time. Like if I say, oh, go here, oh, this is going to drive it nuts.
Can't really get there, right? Because the wall's inflation layer will prevent it from achieving the goal, right?
I'm not sure. I mean, it should be able to squeeze in there, but it sure takes a long time to get there.
Oh, wow.
It looks like the cans
the LiDAR reflecting off the can sort of messes up the localization a little bit, but I'm not sure what it is. So it's over here says it reached. The feedback says it reached that goal. And if I go back to Gazebo and add more beer cans, make it harder. Let's put 6 on it. Where should I put it? You'd think it should be able to squeeze through those cans. And if I so now if I say, okay, give it a more difficult. There's something over here I want to see. I want to go to. And it sort of goes, okay, well, I'm going to go that way. Huh. You can see it's moving the can around. So if I go to Gazebo, for some reason, it pushed the can. So the out of the box stuff for Turtle Sim for their version of this is pretty crude. Yeah.
So
another thing
Mike,
is about
Mike, you've been demonstrating how to use ROS2 to navigate without hitting a can. Now, what about if the objective is to actually go and grab a can? Can you use ROS to do that as well?
That is one of the difficult things is like, how do I use the nav2 stack to get it to the can? And then once you get it to the can, there's nothing pre-programmed to grab it. So you have to write your own code to go grab it. But the tricky part is, that was my next thing. It's like, okay, my next goal is to go to that can. Well, you can see here that it won't go to the center, but it gets close. Yeah.
But Mike, your actual robot, the LiDAR is above the level of the cans, right? So
right.
So the LiDAR won't see the cans, so it should be able to drive right up to them because it won't see them.
Yeah, but I want them to be obstacles. So this is one of the things I was interested in. Like in RQT, you can look at the different parameters that you can set. So like in the obstacle detection, right now it says use laser scan on the /scan topic. Well, I should be able to say use point cloud on the time of flight sensor topic, where the time of flight sensors will put out a point cloud and use it for obstacle detection. So it wouldn't be using it for localization, so it wouldn't affect localization. It would just affect the obstacle detection.
I think you've got. I'm trying to remember the name for this, but there's a word that means you've got a conflict. You've got conflicting requirements. You want LiDAR to not. You want your sensors to not see the cans so that it can localize, but you want them to see the cans so that it can avoid them.
Right. So this LiDAR will just be above the cans and be used for localization. And then I'd use a different set of sensors for obstacle detection.
No, I didn't quite capture the conflict correctly. I think the conflict is actually you want to avoid cans, but you want to approach cans.
Oh, well, that's a different thing. Yeah. So this should be able to approach them, but there'll still be an obstacle and it won't be able to get to the can, which is a good thing because this navigation software just probably just bump the can and knock it over and stuff. And
But once it approaches the can, I want it to say, okay, I'm at the can, I'm close to the can, and then use other code to find the can that's close to it and grab it. And then go back to obstacle detection to go to the goal.
Does it matter which
Yeah.
goal you go into?
Yeah, the goal is important, but not gonna, if you hit a can but don't control it, that's not a problem, Mike. Otherwise, if you pick up a can in your claw and you're heading back to the goal and you hit another can, we'll just reset that can. So you're making it more elegant than you need. But I think the point you were trying to make to Paul was there's different requirements in the different states of the machine's state machine. Otherwise, there's a go get the can, capture the can, go back to the goal. So you have different requirements in those three conditions. So he doesn't really have a conflict.
Right, because once it grabs the can, then it won't be an obstacle again, because when I grab a can, the time of flight sensors don't see it anymore. It's out of its view.
Yeah.
And then I could say, okay, now go to the goal. I'm gonna have it go to this goal because the other one's pretty blocked.
Yeah.
So it could grab the can and go to that goal there. And I guess Kareem was asking, can you put a can into either goal, or does it have to be one that's at the starting point?
When you start, your goal is the opposite goal.
Okay,
Otherwise, that's where you have to put everything in. So on your first can, you're facing your goal. But when you put that first can in and you turn around, then all of the orientation changes because now your goal is behind you. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's relative to the robots, but relative to the map.
No,
here,
not
it's always in
globally.
the same
No,
place.
yeah, right. And globally, it's the same.
Right. Yeah. So let's see what happens since we have a really tight spot. Let's see if it can make it over here with all those cans in the way. So it's thinking it can go between those cans. Let's see if it can actually do that.
So Doug, you're saying it doesn't matter because if it knocks over cans while it's trying to score.
No, it went through them. Yay.
Yeah, we would just replace the can.
You just reset them, and there's no penalty for that.
No.
Oh, come on! You're supposed to avoid the cans.
Well, I mean, if you avoid the can, that's great, But it's not usually a big problem, Kareem, because 70 square feet for 6 Coke cans. Usually, it's not too bad, and we've never really done something tricky like put all 6 cans in a corner or anything like that. We've never done that. We've always kind of spread them across the whole goal, the whole arena.
Is there a rule saying you can only do 1 can at a time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mike, what are the brown lines that are kind of the outline of the arena, but they're inside of the arena with steel
Right here, these.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the area where you don't want the center of the robot to get past that because it would be bumping the wall. And then the red is basically sort of an inflation, so basically a little bit bigger. Yeah.
Oh, so the heat map.
Otherwise, it looks, just watching it, it looks like the robot can go into the blue areas.
Yeah, it can go through the blue areas.
Right.
But this is something really weird I noticed as I say, hey, there's a can in this corner, or let's say this can here. Go here. Yeah. So basically it puts since my goal I wanted to put was inside this area, it stops right at the edge. So I'm not sure if that's an RViz thing or if it's a navigator thing where if I say go to this spot here, XY to navigator, will it try to go to it, or will it
subtract off this area here and just go at the edge of it.
So that brings up a question I was wondering about when I was reading the rules the other day, Doug. That it doesn't say how close to a wall cans may be placed.
I believe there is a suggestion if you read it. It's up to the judges. If I remember right, we don't put a can up against the wall.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. I want to say we tend to put them at least, 6 inches away from the wall.
Okay.
Yeah.
But,
so basically when I was making courses, I would put the can down, and then that's the closest it could go is the length of the can or the height of the can.
Yeah.
Which is about 6 inches. Yeah.
Now, often we saw robots push the can into the wall, and that.
Yeah.
You
can see here that
right. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. If you push the can into the wall, now you got to get it.
Right. Okay. Paul was showing some weird behavior with his real robot with Navigator, and you can see I tried to say go here, and it never made it there, and now it's just saying, oh, well, maybe we should go here, maybe we should go there. It's trying to get closer, and I think this is what Paul was seeing when he was doing a demo.
Yeah.
Eventually it'll time out and abort, but it's not very smart. So one of the things I would have to do is change the behavioral tree to make it work better in my case. Hey, because this is crazy. It would take 5 minutes just to settle down. You can see here that it finally aborted.
This is impressive, though, Mike.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. So the thing is the tricky thing is don't make this any bigger than it has to be, and especially when the rules say you can bump a can. So you bump a can and move it a little bit, but at least you don't whack it head on or something. And
so Doug, if you knock a can over, will it get reset onto the spot that it was at?
I think it depends on the judge on that case. We have done it both ways.
Okay.
We've done it where, sorry, Jack, you're screwed. And we've done it also where, okay, we'll put it back, So I just think about it. It depends on the day of the competition. The more people we have running and that are doing good, probably it will tighten up. But if we only have a couple of people doing it and it's real, it'll be a lot looser. You know how it is.
Okay.
We want everybody to have fun.
Thanks.
Mike, did you say you were taking some sort of course in Nav 2?
Yeah, as part of my Ross courses I'm taking, and we've gotten to Nav 2 and stuff. So I said, okay, I'm gonna, and then the exercise says make a custom world. Oh, I made this world. Yeah. So.
Which do you recommend that course? Which course is it?
UDEMY, Udemy.
Udemy, yeah.
Yeah. It's the Ross 2 basic, Nav 2 stuff, but there's a whole bunch of courses in there.
Yeah.
And so it's like an online course. You just do the work. You do you sit through the. Let's see if I have.
Is it the French guy?
Yeah, the French guy.
Yeah, he's good.
That's what I'm doing right now. And
he just redid his basics courses and updated them for like Humble and Harmonic.
Yeah. The stuff I've been doing is in Humble, and then I got a notice that says, "Oh, by the way, the Nav courses are switching to the newest, the Jazzy."
Jazzy, yeah. He's updated both of those.
Yeah. So, but thank goodness I want to do my robot in Humble right now. Don't want to change that right now. So luckily I can keep going in Humble. He isn't like throwing them out or anything. So the interesting thing is this RQT gives me access to all these variables. I'm not sure where they are in the code, but it's good to see what the variables are, and then you can sort of investigate to see what they do. And it's a more control. It's control that I hope to have, like to be able to do the obstacle layer and the other layers, use different scanners and stuff, and different point clouds and scan clouds and stuff. So I think I can do what I'm wanting to do. So that's good. All right, so that's this show and tell. I'm going to do a stretch goal here.
Well, I saw a robot moving.
Movie?
I mean, it was in simulation, but I think that counts as well as a as a real robot. What do you guys think?
A virtual star.
Yeah. Gold star for Mike for moving a robot, because that means like it's issuing control commands and sensing things and.
Yeah. So let me go into here. Okay, this is my my Roborama 25 workspace. So one thing I did do, I talked about at lunch, is I converted things to a lifecycle nodes, my major nodes, and then this is my manager here. So basically it's the sequence is basically go to the configured state, which is called inactive, and then from inactive go to active, and that's basically all it does. But the one thing I did do is the tutorial just had a wait for 3 seconds, and I put in there as a poll wait state. It says wait till all of my nodes are in the inactive state before I go to the next state. I was just testing out being able to see if I can detect what the states of the different nodes are, so that the lifecycle manager can make sure things are in the right states before it moves to the next one. And one thing I'm wanting to do is when I hit Control C, I want the lifecycle manager or something to put it through the shutdown state. Like in the my sensors, these are the different lifecycle states. Like the initialization, there was no lifecycle control of transform broadcasters, so I just left them in it and just left them running, or left them, you know, what do you call it? Inferred. And then on configure, I would go in and set up the serial port to 2 meg. It's a USB port, and set it to none, which means it's not going to open it. And then I would initialize a timer, then cancel it so it doesn't run, and add 2 timers in this one. And then my publishers, for my different publishers for my different sensors, my time of flight, my different time of flights, I have 4 different ones. The center one, which is a range right here, and then 2 point clouds, one for the left eye, one for the right eye, and then IMU publisher to publish IMU in the battery state and the temperature. And so and then these are for just debugging. So just putting out some debug messages. And then you're supposed to clean those up on the way down, on the way to destroying. And so it's basically, they have a destroy lifecycle publisher. So it's a nice lifecycle will control your publisher behind the scenes. You don't have to control them. You just have to create them and destroy them and in the cleanup cycle. And then behind the scenes, they have their own lifecycle stuff that takes care of everything else. And then I have the cleanup and then the activate, and during the activate is take the timer and just reset it, which means start it at 0. And then I set the port to the serial port, which you can see the string there. I'm using the serial by ID to go and find the exact microcontroller.
on its port, and then I go right to the serial port to set it up in the right mode, like the ROS2 mode, and then I give it some different configuration parameters. So I'm writing to the microcontroller, and then deactivate, shut down, etc., and on error. So I made those but that's not what I really wanted to do. I just got distracted. So I'm going to start up the robot downstairs. Yeah, it's getting some weird messages there from the wheel controller. It hadn't gotten to its proper state yet. And then hopefully I can go to here and run the change to the right location. I think the Udemy or the Roborama. Roborama. Okay. And then let me do the RViz. Oh, there it is. So that's downstairs, and my course downstairs. And so you can see, I can see the outline of the course, and then I can see the different cans I got lined up here, and then like this is the left eye sensor, and this is the right eye sensor here. And if it sees a wall, it sees a wall, but it's basically to see the cans. So basically, this is like the obstacles that it's going to be trying to avoid. And also, when I go to manual control, I can use it to see that this can here is working properly. So I mean, I can say, okay, it's over here, so go straight to it, and eventually the range sensor will see it, and then it'll pull into its jaws and then close on it. And then I can go back to the the navigator and say, go here. So this is my actual robot. It's sensors. So I'm pretty happy that the laser and the time of flight sensors lined up pretty good where the walls are. So that's my show and tell.
That's cool. So I thought your LiDAR was higher than the height of the cans.
Yeah. So they're not seeing the cans. I put all 6 cans lined up here.
Oh, so those are being detected by the time of flight sensors.
Yeah. The red one, this red one here is the time of flight sensor left eye. And then this is the right eye over here. So this is looking on the left side. This is looking at the right side.
Oh.
But there is an overlap where they do overlap around in this area here. So if there's a can here, both of them see the can.
Cool.
And so you can see at the wall here, well, there's no cans to block it, so it sees the wall also. The time of flight sensor sees the wall also. And it can see it over here.
What are all the little random blocks that are bouncing around? Is that just reflections?
It has a hard time seeing cans this far away because they're round and they don't reflect properly. So yeah, it's just unstable. Unstable cans, because there is a can right there, so you can see that sometimes it sees it, sometimes it doesn't. And this can here is seen as 2, and that one here is seen as 1 sometimes, 2 is sometimes. So it's a little.
How do you normalize that and filter out the noise?
Yeah, well, I got work to do, right? Yeah. This is just rough, very rough.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's pretty impressive, Mike.
Like
I think.
Like I'm not filtering them out by any statistics or anything. It's just if there's something there, I'll grab it. I'll show it. But there are things like reflectivity and stuff I can say, okay, only show stuff that has this much reflectivity. There's a couple statistics that come out of the sensor that I'm ignoring right now, so I can use to filter it.
So what message type are you using to publish the data from the time of flight sensors?
Point cloud, right?
Okay, this one here, which is my range sensor, which is my single point one, it's a range topic.
Oh,
And then the left and the right 8x8 sensors published on a cloud.
point clouds. Oh, interesting.
So I should be able to take this point cloud and use it for obstacle detection.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to do two, so I might have to have some code that combines two together into a single point cloud for obstacle detection. But I want them separated left and right so I can home in on a cone and know if I'm on the left side of it or the right side of it. Or I don't know. I got work to do. But I can probably combine these two into a single point cloud instead of having. Right now I'm taking the message and breaking them up into two. So if I go in here and I do the so okay, didn't want to do that, but let me close that. Horizontal. So I do Ross to topic list. So if I look at the L5 message, that's basically the L5 is the 8x8, is the VL's 53 L5. So and so if I do a topic echo, oh, I got to put a slash on it. That's why I didn't see it. Yeah. So this is the data that's coming over the serial port. Yeah. And then I just go and make it a list and parse it up into data to make it a point cloud out of it.
Wow.
So that's the distance data.
Yeah.
Yeah. So right here's like 1 meter over here to the wall and 800 to a can, I guess. And then -1 means it's not really, it's out of range for that point. So it might be the corner of the thing or something.
Wow, you got some advanced stuff going on here, Mike.
Yeah, not much different than I had last year, but I'm trying to pull it together using all of the ROS 2 features, which make it harder. But to me, I'm seeing the way this the navigator works. I'm going, darn, I don't know if it's going to complete the goal, and if it does, it's going to take forever. So I'm afraid that Scott's going to still win but at least I'll be able to use it and learn something. And then next year, maybe I can learn how to tune it up and beat Scott.
Unfortunately, he left, so we can't.
Okay, well, I'm going to stop presenting. Yeah.
Thanks, Mike. Very cool. Very cool stuff. It looks like we lost Ted, and so the last. So I had myself at the end of the queue. We're at the end of the queue now, and when we were at lunch on Sunday, Doug asked me to step through. I was describing how I got Aider to generate an application in one line, one command line, and he asked me to show how you actually do that step by step. So if there's interest in that, if you're still interested in that, Doug, I can show you the steps that it took to do that.
I'm sorry, Paul. I had to step out of the room for a second. Can you say that again?
So
was it addressed at me? Yeah.
Yeah. So you'd asked me to step through what it took to make Ada run and generate an app.
Okay.
App with one command.
Yes.
And so if there's still interested in that, I can show that.
It's 9:42. I think we might need to save it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Sounds like a good plan. All right. Then we'll call it open mic for anyone who wants. We've lost about almost half of our attendance.
Yeah.
So
sorry to bore everybody.
You're losing some more. See ya.
See that. So whatever anyone wants to, we'll say open mic. Whatever anyone else wants to throw out is fine. Otherwise, we'll call it a night because we covered a bunch of ground tonight.
Yeah.
Well, my next course is adding Navigator to your custom robot. My next lesson. So maybe I'll have a real robot running.
Yep.
Cool. All right. I think we're losing people, so we should probably call it a night.
All right.
So thanks everyone. Good to see you all again, and
good night.
see you in a week.